Welcome back to Skeleton Knight to Another World. Anime Review episode number 7. Yep, 7. Excuse me. This one I'm viewing the 7 episode series A Miracle for a High Minded Princess. Yep, that is the name of the episode. And I did spend some time looking up and see exactly what this episode covered. This episode covered pretty much kind of in the way about half of chapter 4 and a little bit also the first half of like chapter 3. Yeah. I did also find out while I was rereading it that there were certain sections of these chapters adapted out of order. We do begin with the section that was cut off from last episode, where basically of Ark using his little uncursing in his arm, and he thinks basically of course, he does it several times. It's a section from chapter 2 that was cut from last week's episode. Well, what happened next? They moved that to the very end. Here he uses the uncurse on his arm a few times, and it turns out it works on him, but will last for like 30 seconds before it wears off. And he thinks for the curse the very next day that he's working with Arlene, and of course they go to a nearby city. Now, I should point out, they do make a lot of cuts here for this one. Lots of cuts. Like, for instance, stuff basically from the stuff they supposedly had for this episode. Maybe they'll save for next week, I'm not sure. Because there's a section where they run into a kid. There's a whole story revolving that. That's probably like a side story. Maybe they might say a future episode, I'm not sure. So, give this time spending, and of course, they're going to pass this particular forest in order to get to the town on the other side. And they're warned about haunted wolves. They're acting a little bit out of character. This basically does follow something from episode 2. And there's a rehash episode 1 a little bit, but not as bad as what happened in the first episode. So, they have it where they go out to the forest and they basically run to the haunted wolves. First, they run into giant bees, which Ark run away from in a very hilarious fashion. Then, of course, he does a walk from one of the woods, and then they run to the haunted wolves. They start fighting. Apparently, some of them are illusions because apparently they have power to cast illusions to make them seem more themselves. After taking out some of these illusions, and of course, eventually, of course, Arlene kills like 3 of them. He then spots the leader, fights the leader briefly, and notices, wait, there's a bracelet on his leg. Was the same bracelet he saw on the Basilisk back in episode 2. Yes, interesting. He then, of course, basically removes the bracelet, and of course, the haunted pack leader just walks away. Doesn't anything to the Ark. He does pop up a little bit later, sort of basically a thank you to basically help out these humans who were basically taken by. So, we also see the country of Orly's princess Yamina, where she traveled with her maid. In the book, they refer to her as a chambermaid, basically it's just a maid, where they travel to another country because they set this up in the previous episode because the events of a couple episodes back with the Marquis, though they refer to him as the feudal lord in the anime, where he was kidnapping elves. Here, she wants to go to some country to basically smooth out any kind of relations between the humans and elves. So on the way there, she's attacked by a group of thugs. Of course, basically, she does suspect that her brother, her middle brother, might be a little behind the abduction of the elves, and the oldest is basically very high ambitions for the throne. He really wants the throne so badly. So it seems like from her perspective. And then, on the way there, where to the Grand Duchy, she is attacked. You don't see who attacked them, what happens to the horses, because this thing was pulled by 2 horses. The carriage rider is actually one behind these bandits. Who these people are, it's not really clear. And then, meanwhile, though, she of course is apparently killed along with her maid. And of course, Arlene wants to make the tails of these wolves into a veil for her sister's wedding, which that's quite nice of her to do. It's apparently good to make wedding veils. Of course, she's kind of paranoid against her sister. So, and of course, while she's trying to skin us, and of course, Ponyta notices the hints. It senses danger, something evil is happening. So he runs out, chase after Ponyta, and then he sees what Ponyta basically was upset with. These guys who tried to kill these 2 ladies. And of course, he And of course, Ponyta jumps on his face, scratches his face up, and then we see, like, kill that creature. They have no idea it's a spirit creature. So then you have Arc pops up out of nowhere, grabs his wrist, and his eyes turn red. And then he proceeds to kill them all. Well, actually, he teams up with the Haunted Wolves to kill all the bandits. They walk away, probably as a thank you for saving them, basically paying a favor. Maybe he's just good friends with them now. He then takes time to revive the princess and then the maid and some of the soldiers, because according to him, his regeneration ability is going to restore some things, but not entirely. Like, it can revive people, but if they're too badly damaged, they can't get full revive. But a lot of them were. So basically, a small number basically are still dead, but at least the princess and the maid is still alive. So basically, they steal the horses from the bandits that were killed, and they just use them to ride to the next town. And of course, she does not run to Arc. She doesn't see him. She just doesn't know what his face looks like. And in case you're curious, does Arc run into her a little bit later? Yes, he does in the books, so don't worry about that. And then, of course, he goes back. Now, her reaction, Arlene's reaction, is different in the book. In the book, she's like, what the heck took you so long? It seems like she's basically, like, mad that you took a while. It's like, oh, you took a while. She seemed very calm about it. Compared to the book, basically, it looked like she was mad at him for taking a sweet time getting back and having to make the fur. And then they move on to the next town, which, by the way, in the actual books, they actually go back to Loctia. That's why they had the bath scene that you saw in last week's episode. They actually put that before the stuff happened in this episode, which I thought was kind of weird. Yes, that basically the whole chapter 3, the whole bath scene, that's the entire chapter in book 2. They put that in last episode, and that's what happened next, because they dropped all the stuff, and then the bath thing came up. Then what happened with the hijinks with her Arlene walking on Arc in the bath, which, by the way, she's I gotta point out though, she's hot. Arc, you lucky guy to be with this beautiful dark elf. Yep. And then after that, then the stuff we saw in this episode, it's kind of that below of order, and they go to another town, and they arrive at the town they see at the end of the episode, where they just walk through the town, and then we see some action with them attacking a girl, and it turns out this girl is actually the furry ninja that Arc encountered just a few episodes ago. Awesome! We get a chance to see this. It's really good. We got a chance to meet up her again. Because she said, oh yeah, we're going to meet up again. And we do. It's great. Yep. Does a really good job here. Though, it's weird, though, they adapt this sequences out of order. Because, like I said, the BAP scene from last episode, that is from stuff that happened after the whole wolves, the stuff with the haunted wolves and the prince that happened after that. Here, it's reverse order, which I thought was kind of weird. Yep. And, like, also the last portion of book chapter 2 with Ponyta being, well, let's just say, just being played with by Arlene. That was actually adapted for an episode 5, just before they arrived at the village. I thought it was the original, but it turns out that's actually that last little bit of that chapter. So yeah, last few episodes, like, it seems like they started the series off. So far, this is 7 episodes in, by the way, where it seems like they're doing stuff in order, and then by the last episode, adapt these sequences out of order. Does it like the flow of the series? Not necessarily, no. But still good episode nonetheless, and I can't wait for next week's episode. Which, by the way, if you're curious of what it's going to call, it's going to be called, Allied Dashed into the Darkness with the Beast People. Yep. This should be interesting. Now, in case you're curious, though, for the light novels, as of right now, I am officially up to date. I have read all of the light novels and released so far in English. Book 10 is not released yet. It's the only novel I have not read yet. And I will eventually read the manga. Don't worry about that. I know there's a manga adaptation for this one, so I'll read it in the future. So yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. Stay tuned for next review, which is going to be Case Closed. And then it'll be Kaguya-sama Lovers War, and that will be it for today. Yep. Just 2 more anime videos, and that's it, okay? Next video. Bye.